Sage Wanderer here, and welcome to the sheep pen. Bah! No goats allowed. So today I want to talk about the battle between good and evil, or as I call it, the conflict between the two kingdoms. If you've watched the channel and you've listened to me before, you might be aware of the fact that at the basis of what I believe is the concept that there are two kingdoms, a kingdom of light and a kingdom of darkness. And everything you do, every thought you have, every action you take, every move you make, every step you take, builds one kingdom at the expense of the other. You are a member of whatever kingdom you are putting the most work into. Let me repeat that. You are a member of whichever kingdom you put the most work into. So if you are 51% on the side of the kingdom of light, then you are a member of the kingdom of light. But if you are 51% on the side of kingdom of darkness, then you are a member of the kingdom of darkness. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that your actions, your thought life, your choices dictate which kingdom you are associated with. Whatever kingdom you live in is the kingdom you will spend eternity in. And some might even argue that whatever kingdom you feed the most is the kingdom you've always been a part of, even before you came to this earth. Dome. That's worthy of a coffee talk sometime. But let's talk about the origin of the two kingdoms. Now, originally, there were not two kingdoms. Originally, there was one kingdom, the kingdom of light. There was no darkness in the earth. You know, one of the things that separates me from Buddhism is this belief that darkness is necessary for light to exist. And I do not believe that is true. I believe that darkness is like a cancer. Darkness is an aberration. Darkness is a genetic mutation, right? It is it's something that shouldn't exist and didn't exist until darkness was brought into existence. And this is why one villain is said to be responsible for bringing darkness into the world. Because what is darkness? I define darkness as a separation from the light. So the light is there. The light has always existed. The light is eternal. It's the eternal flame of life. And darkness is the area where the light does not penetrate. But originally, the light penetrated everything. There was no darkness, only light. Then, and what we're talking is pre-Genesis here. We're talking about stuff that's none of our business on some levels. I'm trying to explain to you the mysteries as I have, as I've discovered them and uncovered them for myself. And in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right? He separated the day from the night. This is what we know about the origin of the earth. But what I'm talking about predates the earth, okay? It predates the creation of the earth as we know it. And so light was always there, and darkness was created by this villain who decided to separate himself from God. God being the source of the light, being the source of all light, the light was all encompassing and there was no darkness until a decision to rebel against God was made. Let me repeat that. Once the decision to rebel against God was made by Satan, the adversary to God, who was once one of God's high-ranking officials. Okay, we'll just put it that way. I won't go into the details. We could do a whole thing studying the origin of Satan and demons. But what I'm talking about is the very genesis of the fight. Okay, when Satan decides to start the rebellion that will eventually lead to 1/3 of the angels rebelling against God and causing the cosmic war that we are now to this day a part of. That's what I'm trying to tell you. We're part of a cosmic war between good and evil. But when Satan made that decision, then he decided to walk into darkness, which darkness is just the absence of God. Darkness is just the absence of light. So when he separated himself from God. Through rebellion, he created this darkness that has begun to spread like a cancer through the universe. Every time that you make a vote against God, every time that you join Satan in his rebellion, you are increasing the darkness in the universe. Because in the decision you make to separate from God in your own act of rebellion, you add a drop of darkness. You become another drop of darkness. And the goal being to extinguish the light. This is the goal of the enemy. This is the goal of the adversary. This is the goal of Satan and his demons, is to extinguish the light of God through rebellion, which separates us from God. Does that make sense? So when we give God the finger and turn our back on the light, we are then spreading the darkness. Does that make sense? So one of the keys to living a triumphant life is to walk in the light. This is very clear in the writings of Jesus, and he encourages us to be in the light, to walk in the light. He doesn't give us a lot of explanation as to what that means, but the simple explanation is this: it's the two kingdoms speech. You build the light by building the kingdom of light, by making decisions that build the kingdom of light at the expense of the kingdom of darkness. Because when you light a candle in the darkness, you drive away the darkness. You diminish the kingdom's, a kingdom of darkness's territory. When you shine a light into the darkness, you're stealing territory from the dark and adding territory to the kingdom of light. To say that each person is a battlefield between good and evil is a correct statement. It's a battlefield where there is no peace declaration. It's a never-ending battle. The best that you can hope for in this battle is to push in close to the light, push in close to God, and allow him to, as we've talked about in previous videos, to set a table for you in the presence of your enemy. When things are at when the combat between good and evil is at its height, when you reach a certain level of light, let's say you get past the 75% light, 25% darkness in your own choices, when that happens, there's that moment, that tipping point, when that hovering protection of God comes over you. And you're still in the fight, but he makes a table, a feast table for you, puts you into this, under this force field in the middle of this war that we now all live in daily, this battle between good and evil. And the battle rages around you, but it doesn't touch you, and you become this bastion of light, this person who walks in the light, so that the darkness flees. Instead of combating you head on, when you shine bright enough and you walk out into the world, the powers of darkness flee ahead of you. Right? This is what it means to be lucky. This is what it means to be blessed. This is what it means to walk in the flow, to walk in the Spirit, to walk in the light. You attain this through your decision to walk towards the light. Therefore, there is no condemnation for them who are in Christ Jesus, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit, who walk not after the dark side, but after the light. When you walk in the light, when you pursue the light, there is no condemnation for you. You become a member of the kingdom of light when you make 51% of your decisions in favor of the light. And 49% of them, 51% of those decisions are against the dark side. Okay? Am I making myself clear? It's your decisions that, it's the old saying, the old Native American saying, that in each of us is a dark wolf and a white wolf, and which wolf wins the fight for control of you? The wolf you feed the most. So when you feed the light side of you, when you feast on light, when you walk towards light, walk in light, surround yourself with light, embrace the light, then the darkness in you starves to death. When you embrace the light in the world, the darkness has to retreat from you. When you embrace the light in your community is elevated. Your family is elevated. Your state is elevated. Your nation can be elevated when you collectively cross that 51% line, right? And get in the light. And the more of your decisions can be light-based, the more your decisions are light-based, and the more of your decisions that reject the dark, the more triumphant you become in life, the more blessed you become in life, the more powerful you become spiritually, the less mayhem and chaos has the ability to touch you. The more triumphant you become is when you get into that bubble of God's protection and you're so surrounded by light that there is no shadow. You know, there's a thing in movie making and television shows that they call the ring of fire. It's a lighting phrase or technical term. And there is a way to light a person's face so that there is no shadow. There's no shadows that show the lines. Like here you can see, even though I have pretty good lighting in here, I'm sitting under an LED. But you know, you can see these lines and creases in my face and under my eyes. You can see the shadow of my glasses, right? But if you light somebody perfectly, it erases every line in their face. When you make it so there can be no shadow, right? And they do this in lighting with a ring of fire, where they put these lights all around the top, just above the camera where you can't see, all pointing down, and then backlit and underlit. And there's just so much light in this ring of fire that it erases every shadow. That's where you hope to become as a light worker, as a person who pursues things, pursues the kingdom of light. When you become a pursuer of the kingdom of light, you're working to drive away every shadow. You're working to build that ring of fire and hedge of thorns of protection around you and your family, so the darkness must flee. Then misfortune and malady and health problems and financial problems, they all flee from you. As the darkness recedes, they take their dark side problems with them. The bad health goes away when you can walk 75, 80, 85% of the time in the light. You're making decisions daily. Your thought life daily is focused on the kingdom of light, is focused on a forward momentum into the bright side of life, into the good things of life. When you build that, when you pursue that, when you walk in it, you grow in it 75, 80%, 90% walking in the light. And that dark side starts to starve, and those shadows recede, and you can walk into a room and people just feel better because you stepped in. Because the light that you brought with you is so strong that the shadow in themselves must retreat. And their light is embodied and is rather buoyed and empowered by your light. That your light feeds their light. The power of darkness works in the same way. Dark workers bring this cloud into the room with them. Like the Peanuts character that used to walk into the room and there was just this cloud over the top raining over just him. Didn't rain over anybody else, just the poor sad friend of Charlie Brown, whose name escapes me. Maybe it was Linus, who always had the cloud hanging over him. And so if you're the kind of person who is 51% on the dark side, 51% on the negative side, 51% on the side of ruin and wreck, if you get joy or comfort out of other people's pain and suffering, right, then when you walk into a room, you suck the light out of the room. When that kind of person walks into the room, their darkness feeds the darkness of everybody else in the room. It's the old saying, misery loves company. Be a worker of light. It starts in your own mind. It starts with a decision to pursue the light. And for me, the light is embodied according to the Gospel of John. The light is embodied in the personage of Jesus Christ and the message that he brought. For me, to embrace Jesus is to embrace the light. There has been no greater character for good in this world than Jesus Christ. The things he did in those short 3 years of ministry recorded in what we call the Gospels shows an individual whose light exudes and the darkness must flee. The devils literally run in fear when he would enter a region, an area. They would beg for mercy. The darkness hides. It tries to hide, and it trembles. It trembles at the sound of his voice. So to me, to align myself with Christ is to align myself with the power of light, is to become a kingdom of light worker, to embrace the light, to destroy the darkness is my goal. It's my reason for living. It's why I get out of bed every morning. The hopes that I can destroy that darkness when I encounter it, destroy the depression that people carry, destroy the guilt that people carry. I pray that God uses me to destroy the doubt and the fear that people carry, and to spread the light of joy, love, peace, prosperity, good health, a sound mind, an honest character, strength, compassion, empathy, and yes, love. My sincere prayer is that you make that decision today to pursue the light, to pursue Jesus Christ, to be like him, to be a light worker, to spread the light, to destroy the works of the devil in your life, in the lives of your family, and in the lives of your community. He taught us to not put our light under a bushel, but set it up on a hill to shine down on the world for all to see. That you have driven away the darkness in your own heart, and in turn it spreads the light to all of those around you. I pray you make this decision today. Time is short. The battle lines are being drawn. The final battle between good and evil is here. It's at our doorstep. Make your decision now. Make your choice now. And walk in the light. May the Lord bless and keep you. May his face shine upon you. And may you become cannons of light to destroy the works of the enemy. May you build the kingdom of light at the expense of the kingdom of darkness. One way you can help do that in an outwardly way is to support the revealing of this message, to support this powerful message of the battle between good and evil. That's the only thing that matters. Your doctrine doesn't matter. Your beliefs don't matter. What matters are you engaged in the battle between good and evil? Have you signed with the light? And are you feeding the light in yourself, in your community, in your church, in your family, in your life? One of the ways you can do that is by supporting this channel with your prayers. I need your prayers to continue spreading the light. I need your support financially. There's a PayPal link. You can make a contribution to the cause. There's a P.O. box there. You can send me letters of encouragement. Send me gifts if you like. Whatever makes you feel good. Whatever makes you know that you're contributing. Contribute what you can. Even if it's just a kind word. Even if it's just a thumbs up on this video. Even if it's just a share. When we spread the light, the powers of darkness must go away. They must yield to the light. It's the natural force of nature. Be a spreader and a giver of light. May the Lord bless and keep you, and we'll see you next time on the sheep pen, where no goats are allowed. Bye.